So I'm Betsy Scott with the Housing Innovation Alliance. You can see we've got a lot of experts with us today. We are here to talk about a very exciting project that we launched at the summit in Denver earlier this year. We are doing 2 concept homes with the America at Home study team, and we have several folks with us today to talk about different aspects of the project, all the way from the research behind it to collaboration and to the 3 areas that we have listed there: livability, constructability, and sustainability. And we're really excited to be talking about this because as the Alliance, we look at innovation holistically for the production building sector. And if you peel the layers back as we're talking about this project, it really deals with 4, if not all 5 of the missions that we have for driving innovation in the industry. On the design and build side, we're going to be looking at modular construction and what that enables us to do in terms of attainability and sustainability and quality. We're going to be looking at the aspects of this project that on the home as a service side deal with attainability and the build to rent aspect of the Picket Fence as a project, as well as a really cool ADU that's included in that home. On the ESG front, we look at sustainability. Nicole is going to be talking about the carbon calculations behind this building, as well as the livability and the health within the homes and the importance of that to the end consumer, whether they're buying or renting. And then we're also going to be looking at the role that data and technology play in this type of a project. So really a holistic look at innovation and how we can do things differently in the industry. So before we get into the project in more detail, I want to pause for a moment and thank all of our partners in the Housing Innovation Alliance, our transformation and innovation partners, without whom we would not be able to put on programs like this and to collaborate with all of the great people that we're going to be talking to today. So thank you for those of you who may be online. And I'm just going to bring everybody back in and just welcome you guys. So if you have questions for everybody today, go ahead and type those at any point. And we'll be watching that. Both Natalie and I will be watching any questions or comments that come through on LinkedIn. We've got 2 Q&A breaks. So we're going to start the agenda today with Terry, who's going to talk about the data from the 3rd wave of the America at Home study that has actually been used to facilitate the ideas and the design principles behind and values behind this project. Then Dennis is going to talk about kind of the collaborative effort, how everything came together there. Ryan from Dahlin is going to talk about innovation in the design itself and introduce the concept to you in more detail for the Picket Fence. We'll wrap up the first segment with Dennis and Nicole talking about sustainability and the carbon impacts of the house and how those are being looked at. Then we'll do a Q&A break, and then we're going to get to the real meat and potatoes of delivering things realistically through the modular factory with SMI through Eric Newhouse, and then we'll do another Q&A break at the end. So I'm going to go silent for a while. I know that might be hard for some of you to believe. Terry's going to be actually facilitating everything, and I'll pop back in when we're doing Q&A, and I will see all of you soon.
Great. Well, thank you, Betsy, and thanks everybody for being here this afternoon or this morning, depending on what time zone you're in. I'm going to take just a few minutes, and I have no illusions you're not here to hear somebody talk about data and show you a bunch of slides around numbers and facts and figures for the next hour and a half or whatever the time is we have. So I'm going to hit it really high level and then get into the meat of the matter, which is the awesome concept home that was created as a result of this, and we'll have the team talk a bit about that. But just to level set, the American Home Study is the only longitudinal study of early, peak, and post-pandemic consumer insights as a result of life that we've all lived over the past few years, which really gives us some great insights and learnings around how we think about home and community and how that might have changed over time. Next slide, please, Betsy. And so what I'm going to do, as Betsy said, is just touch on some of the high-level insights from our Wave 3 data. We've run the survey now 3 times with almost 10,000 responses. Wave 3 was October of 2022. And to sum it up, we learned 4 key things in addition to a number of other detailed insights. Number 1 is wellness is a key purchase motivator like it's never been before. And I'll talk about more of that in a minute. Efficiency is really critical. Every inch counts in our homes and including how we use the public space in our communities. Flexibility is really key, and not just in the rooms in the home, but actually we use the term spaces, and Ryan's been really good about reminding us to think about spaces, not just rooms. So how we use space has changed forevermore. And then we really saw an uptick in the number of people being more willing than ever to accept both a smaller home and a smaller yard, which probably gets to some attainability questions. Let's touch on wellness first. Next slide. Thanks. So what you see here is data from Wave 3 that really compares the difference between what level of wellness is important to people and how satisfied they feel with each of those various wellness domains in their lives. Really quick squint test, you can see there are some gaps. The yellow bar is how important that particular element of well-being was ranked by 3,000 consumers. And the blue bar is how satisfied they are and how they're doing at achieving that level of wellness in their life. You can see very quickly the biggest gaps are financial and physical well-being, which for those of us involved in creating homes and the built environment, it really brings to the surface the importance to think about attainability and affordability, and also how our physical space can affect our well-being. So if we go to the next slide, well, the real takeaway between 2020 and 22, again, because we have that longitudinal data, is Americans are feeling less well today than they were during the peak of a global health pandemic. Like, let that sink in for a minute. There's been a 17% decline in how well we feel physically since 2020, an 11% decline in how well we feel financially, and an 8% decline in our level of satisfaction with our emotional well-being. These are pretty big numbers, but the great thing is the built environment can impact one's level of wellness and well-being overall. So let's talk about that a little more. Next slide, please, Betsy. If you can make that a little larger so I can see it, that'd be great. Thanks. We also asked about the top activities that people were doing in their home as a result of living more life from home. And no surprise, they were home-based, right? So shopping online, exercising more at home, cooking and baking, eating together with friends and family, spending time with people you live with. The kind of orange colored chart is Wave 2 data. The green chart is Wave 3 data. We did this to show that really the behaviors that change as a result of living more of our lives from home have stuck post-COVID. And some of those changes we think are lasting. If you go to the next slide, it's no surprise some of the changes that have actually decreased. So we're playing less time on video games than we were during the heart of the pandemic. We're spending less time scrolling and doom scrolling on social media. And while online shopping, we think, is here to stay, and that has impacts for space in the home as well as storage. We're doing less things like grocery and food delivery to our homes now that COVID is sort of endemic and a bit more in our rearview mirror. Next slide, please. So if we're doing all of these different behaviors, well, where are we doing them, and what does that mean about the home design and how our homes live in the future? We were quite surprised, at least I was personally, to hear that our respondents said the family room was the most important room in the house, followed by the primary bedroom and the kitchen. I know many of us, whenever I ask people, what do you think the most important room in the house is? Many people say kitchen. And it's still important. And what I'm showing you here are some of the subtle differences between various demographic segments and what they believe is the most important room in their homes. There are lots and lots of more layers of data, including absence or presence of children, which really affects which home is important, and some nuances between the different boomer segments, the younger and the older boomers. But again, I know you're not here to listen to data today, so let's keep rolling. So this is a really interesting slide. We also, because we had the opportunity and have to work with the Housing Innovation Alliance and all of their partner teams that are really focused on sustainability, new technology, and so on, we added a question to Wave 3 of our study, which was really asking about the wellness and sustainability features in a home that people thought were important to their own personal wellness. Hard to see on the slide, on the screen perhaps, but the PDF will be available afterwards as well for you to dig in more detail if you're interested. What I want you to notice: conserving energy and water, eliminating chemicals and VOCs, low E windows, whole home air filtration systems, and then the macro, a home that minimizes its environmental impact, were all important features to one's personal well-being for more than 50% of the respondents. And all of these are key outputs of the offsite construction methodology, which is super exciting. So if these are important to them, if you go to the next slide, Betsy, why were they important? Well, having done consumer research for about 20 years now, typically when you ask about sustainability, energy resources and so on, saving money is the number one motivator for why people choose those technologies. This is the first time ever that I've seen improves my health and wellness rise to the top. I'll give it to you. It's only a 1% point difference, but it's now the number one purchase motivator for choosing these technologies in new homes and communities. Huge opportunity. So, we've heard the moniker health is the new wealth. I think it's really wellness is the new why. Wellness is why people will choose to purchase different things in their homes and look at homes that think about their environmental footprint differently today than ever before. Next slide, please. So really, in summary, what this is all about and what I hope we'll show you today with this amazing team is that we started with insights about what people want in a home. Then we collaborated with the team, a multifaceted, multidisciplinary team on designing a home for the future that we think will address some of these needs. And really, that's innovation in action. And there's no one better to talk about that than Dennis Steigerwalt.